2014 where students were constantly on their phones, not engaged in class. We figured as entrepreneurs, you start with a problem and come up with a solution. So Pocket Points is our solution. We'll get into kind of the story of how it came to be. But first I just want to say this is really cool because a lot of people that were mentioned in the slides, or those businesses that were mentioned and the Center for Entrepreneurship, they've impacted Rob and I quite a bit, and they continue to. So this is a real small room with only 30 seats or so, but it's a lot more than that. Just the impact that this program has and the impact Chico State's had as far as an entrepreneur standpoint goes is really powerful. So
brief background on just ourselves. I'm a computer science major, Chico State, Mitch, business marketing. We met in the same fraternity about a year and a half ago, 2 years, and we ended up always bouncing ideas. All you guys are entrepreneurs here. You all have ideas for businesses or apps or products that could be really cool. And we were kind of in that same boat. And so we were bouncing ideas off each other and realized that there could be something done. I had made apps in the past. I'd made websites. I know I could make a product. Just needed the business aspect of it. So Mitch and I teamed up, and we ended up brainstorming a lot with David Ron. If you guys don't know David Ron, really great professor. He was the guy who walked us through, taking this from just a concept into an actual business and turning it into, a full-on. People always say like, "Oh, great app! You have an app. You have an app." Sure, we have an app, but that's 10% of our business. The other 90% is running a business, is running a company, and so the app is kind of just the byproduct of our company. So we met with David Ron, and we were able to kind of figure out how we could launch a product. How much it would cost, how do we do it, what are the pros and cons of doing it one way or another, and we ended up doing an MVP, minimum viable product, and getting something just out there at Chico State just to see if it would work. And we did that about a year ago, last September.
So Rob came up to my apartment above Riley's. I don't know if you guys have ever been above Riley's, but don't ever go there. No, it's a good place. So Rob comes up above Riley's and he's like, we're just talking, and he said, I saw everyone's got their heads down in class, and I've got this idea to, maybe we can keep students off of their phones. I don't know if there's a business behind it. I don't know if we can monetize anyway, but it's an idea, and that kind of got both of our brains really moving and starting to think about what we could possibly do. And like I said, there was a problem, right? And the problem was pretty obvious. Students weren't engaged in class, and they're pretty much addicted to their cell phones. I mean, you guys have seen it. It's not just in class, but we wanted to start in colleges because we were in college, and we were the problem. I was on my phone all the time in class, and so were you. So we knew what the problem was, and that's really the biggest thing. Whenever we're talking to classes like this or groups, or people ask us how to start a business, blah, 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 it's really simple. Find a problem and come up with a good solution. Don't just make something to make something. So we knew what the problem was, and we kind of had two different ideas. One was, let's maybe go the route of let's get every syllabus on campus and let's make it almost mandatory for a student to have our app, and they can get extra points, and they can maybe get 10% grade boost on a test or something if they gain a certain amount of points.
Almost like Blackboard, that type of thing.
Right.
Where Blackboard's integrated in every one of your guys' classrooms and days, whether you have an option or not. Blackboard's in your face, and you have to use it. And so that's something that we wanted to start off with, having someone already driving users, right? It's the guy who brought up the last thing. How would you get people to use it? Does it take two guys inviting another two guys type of thing? And with that concept, it's the students, the teachers, the faculty. Those are what drives those. So if you got in touch with teachers and those were the people pushing these note sharing things, then that would be a really good idea.
Right.
Versus having to rely on a student to turn that virality into an organic spread, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like we knew that was a good idea, the extra credit, but we also had the idea of what if we used merchants and drove traffic to those merchants, and is that a good enough incentive for a student to lock their phone? These were all unknowns. This was all kind of crazy thoughts, and we were flirting with both ideas. We didn't know what to do, and that's where we met with David. We actually met with Peter, and they were great help. And that's what I'm saying. The Center for Entrepreneurship is really great, and you guys have a lot of support at Chico State. Like more support than you can even think of. So we started brainstorming, we were doing focus groups, and this is all in the summer of 2014, so a little over a year ago. And we kind of just came to the standpoint where we got to make a decision. We got to either go right or we got to go left. We're either going to do the extra credit or we're going to go with the merchant route. And I think when we kind of, I could be wrong, but I think when we decided to go the merchant route was when we found out that they were paying money to put ads in or put discounts in magazines and newspapers. And when we found that out, it was like we kind of got the chills and we were like, oh my, this is crazy. If we can do this well, we might be able to make a lot of money. And it was kind of nuts to us to think these merchants are going to be putting discounts in newspapers, but they're paying to give away free food. So we started to go around to some of the merchants. I think Pita Pit was maybe the first one we closed. And they got us, buy one, get one pitas or something like that. And we signed up all these merchants at no cost because we didn't have any users, right? This is all just, fugazi, like as an idea. But we got some great merchants, and I remember we signed up Brooklyn Bagel, and if you guys use Pocket Points, Brooklyn Bagel gives the free bagel with cream cheese. And I remember driving home, I'll never forget, you were in, I think, Sacramento or something at the time, and I called him like, dude, this is going to be huge. This is awesome. Because they were going to give away the free bagels, and we knew if they're just going to give away free bagels, people are going to go get free bagels. And it proved to be right, but it was still unknown, and then we launched in the fall. And
yeah, so we launched at Chico State with kind of just turn this concept into an idea. After we launched it, one of the things that we were worried about was cost. How expensive is it to start businesses? And it was fortunate that I could program this thing for free, do it on my own time. And the fact in college you have the most time to do these things. Most of us don't have jobs when you're first starting out in college, freshman, sophomore. And so that was when I really put a lot of my time into just developing things and kind of trying to make little mini or pseudo businesses of plans that could work out. So we launched at Chico State about a year ago with that hope that this thing could happen. And we ended up only spending money on like some legal things. Like it was like incorporating a business and trademarking.
It's probably about $1,000.
Yeah, and we ended up pulling it, we split it, and we went down and we realized, okay, this is cool, this is free, this is cheap, why not just do it? And we thought, worst case, we're just going to get free bagels at Brooklyn Bagel. Like, awesome, free bagels, right? That was our idea.
Yeah.
And so we launched it, students started using it, and we saw some really good traction. And we kind of got some, a little bit of press. The Orion wrote an article.
So that picture up there actually is from the Orion. That was in, I want to say October.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago. And when that article came out, it really went viral. It blew up, and we didn't know that was going to happen. We thought we were just doing an article in the Orion. Like, does anyone read the Orion? I don't read the Orion. But everyone read that article, which was great. So we shared it on Facebook and whatnot.
It actually turned into their most viewed article
ever
to date.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like their most popular article, and so that was huge. And the reason it was big was, one, it got us a lot of downloads and users. We already kind of had some traction at that point. I don't think the article was like what really made Pocket Points a success at Chico. But what it did was it got the attention of some entrepreneurs that were from Chico. One of them was Andrew Gazdecki. And Andrew started business apps. He was on the slide with all the successful businesses. And Andrew sent me an email and was just kind of congratulating me. Just said, hey, I started a business in Chico. Like, good job. Keep it up, guys, blah, blah, blah. So we set up a call with him, because we were thinking, like, what does he want? Does he want to buy our company? Or like, I remember we were calling Ron, we were freaking out, we didn't know what was going on. And so we did a call with him, and he was really not that into it. Like, I don't know, maybe he was just like hungover or something, but he was just, like, oh, cool, yeah, but selling to small business is so hard. Like, we're like, dude, help us up, don't put us down. But anyways, he sent an email after that call to Chris Friedland and said, you got to meet these guys. And Chris started Build.com. Build.com is almost $1 billion company. So Chris and Robert Strazzer, Robert does College Scheduler, and these are all Center for Entrepreneurship guys, and they all went through the Accelerator Fund, and they're, kind of Chico's, business gods, if you want to call it that right now. They're the guys with You know, the picture
photos
back
of
to back.
Glenn, yeah.
Look at the bad goatee or whatever. But anyways, they took us to Tres Hombres, and we were looking up things about Chris Friedland, and we saw that Chris gave Andrew $50,000 at Tres Hombres. And we're like, well, if he went to Tres and he's taking us to Tres, like, maybe something's going on here. And we go there, and we're talking to him, and Rob's all sweating, and all nervous. I was like,
Yeah, you're talking to millionaires. Whoa, we're just two kids that don't know anything.
but we were pretty nervous, but
Yeah.
it was fun. But Chris goes to the bathroom, and Chris, like, he wasn't even listening to us.
He's on his phone.
He's like on his phone the whole time. Like, our app is to keep you off your phone, and you're looking at your phone, not listening to us. And he goes to the bathroom, and he comes back, and he just was like, I want to invest in you guys. We're like, all right, well.
Yeah.
It must have been a good trip in the bathroom. And they're like, who called you or whatever. But he said he wants to invest in us, and we didn't do the deal right there, but we kind of knew something was going to happen. And we went and met with him. This is kind of a funny story. I might be going off on a tangent, but we went and met with him at his office, and I had a midterm, and I thought I was going to make it back to the midterm, but we started, like, you know, talking business and whatnot that was going on, and I just totally missed the midterm, like, failed it, and his secretary wrote me a note, and I came back and, like, showed the guy the note, and he's like, I don't care, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but dude, you just give me $50,000. I'm like, showing him a $50,000 check, and he's just like, I don't care. Oh, shit.
Failed that.
So failed that class, but luckily we knew we were dropping out, or taking a leave of absence. So we got $50,000 from them, and they said, go to 5 schools, and I'm going to tell them about it.
Yeah, so initially what they believed was that Chico was kind of a mysterious thing. Why are we so good at Chico? Why did we have 1 in 3 students using pocket points last year? What was that? Was it because me and Mitch are in Chico? Was it because, you know, whatever reason, was our fraternity? Like, we didn't know. And so he gave us this money to kind of prove that concept out. We had to get it outside of just Chico and see, would it work at another school, or is it a fluke type thing? So we ended up launching at Penn State, SLO, which were some of our, like, really, really good schools, and then Berkeley and, like, Arizona and Michigan.
Why do you choose those schools?
So the biggest reason we chose to go to those schools, he gave us $50K and says, go to 5 more schools.
Right.
And we were like, well, I don't have any resources at these schools. You know, we were in this fraternity, like, are there resources through that? Like, how do we find these people? And that's a really hard thing to recruit. And we ended up using a lot of, like, really close and strong leads of, you know, friends, pretty much. It was, like, Mitch or my friends that had went to these schools that we had known from high school and that we had relationships, and we knew, okay, if I were to start a business with anyone, who would this guy be? Oh, he goes to NAU. I'm going to call that guy up, type of thing. So we had some really good people at those schools.
But also, the reason we went to Penn State, it's on the East Coast, it's got 40,000 students.
Right.
Chico's got 15,000 students. And then, so we want to do something different than Chico, right? But we also want to do something that emulates Chico as well. So Cal Poly was perfect. Small town, a lot of local businesses. Let's do Q&A after. I'll get you out of it. But a lot of small businesses, and we knew we could probably emulate Chico there. And then the other schools, we want to just go to, you know, school a little more south, and really, it wasn't that strategical. It was more just who can work for us, right? But Penn State and Cal Poly, we wanted to go to a big school. We wanted to go to a school like Chico. And when we launched at Penn State, it was crazy. It was the second school we launched at, and the numbers were just outrageous. Because, like I said, there's 50,000 students, and you know, we had about a third of the students at Chico, which was about 5,000 users. At Penn State, we got to 12,000 users really quick, and you know, the Orion article, like I said, helped us out quite a bit. Well, Penn State did an article just like that got picked up by Time Magazine, and when that happened, things really got crazy. When a big media outlet like Time does an article, sorry, I just put my pocket points on. When a big media outlet like Time does an article, all the other ones copy it. So you've got Washington Post, you've got you know, LA Times, and we did the BBC and Fox News, and all these different media outlets were interviewing us, and we're getting exposure worldwide. I mean, there were tweets coming through from Indonesia and Australia, and we couldn't even read them because they're all, in different languages, and it was crazy. Things were just really, really blowing up. But what was interesting is we couldn't increase our users just because we were blowing up all over the world, because we need the merchants before we launch in a school. It's kind of a chicken and egg type thing. And although it's slowed our growth, I think it's enabled us to really grow a great business. Because the number one reason a business fails is extreme growth at too rapid, at too quick of a time span. So we couldn't have that. We couldn't grow too fast. We controlled our growth. We say when we're going to go to a school and how many schools we're going to go to. So I think that type of or that facet of our business has helped us sustain a great company. But not going, kind of going off on a tangent. Anyways, we got all that media and we got a lot of hype, and we realized we want to do a national launch, and it's going to require some more capital. So I don't know if you guys are super familiar with venture capital and how it works, but you're basically giving up a % of your company at a certain valuation for a certain amount of money. And so that was kind of what we were doing in the spring, and we ended up closing a round of about $600,000 to go basically to all the biggest schools in the country. So this past summer, we hired on 10 full-time employees, and what we were doing was closing businesses at all the major universities around the country. And that's enabled us to launch 100 schools, and I'm telling
Yeah,
how that went.
so more recently, like Mitch said, over summer is our biggest expansion. School just started in the last 3-4 weeks. And we were really, waiting to see, we have all this downtime during summer and winter breaks when students aren't in school. What can we do in that time to still make our business grow? And it was launching new schools and new places. So we were able to turn on all these schools, develop our product, add in an Android version, which we didn't have, get in some more engineers, get some more salespeople, really ramp up just from this idea of me and Mitch kind of just doing everything to now being able to delegate this business and make it kind of like just run on its own now. And that's kind of what our goal has been. And I think any business, you want to be able to have something that's sustainable and not highly dependent on a single person or something like that. So we launched at all of these schools just recently, and we've been seeing some really, really good growth compared to when we first launched. It was only a handful of schools, and now being at 65 like major universities and 100 additional community colleges, it's allowed us to get the product into way more people's hands. And some of our schools have recently just blown up, like Nebraska, Lincoln, and Mississippi, and Alabama, and schools on the East Coast.
It's cool because we see different schools start ramping up at different times, and when they do, they just explode. So I think yesterday, the University of Georgia just went nuts. They had like 500, 600 new users, new downloads, just in one day. And then once you do that, it kind of just keeps growing. The virility of it is really kind of crazy. The word of mouth spreads very quickly. So our focus right now is or at least our team's focus is to make sure everyone at those schools knows about Pocket Points. We get as many users, and then we keep the the ball rolling. And we just got out of a meeting, and we're planning what we're going to be doing in the next 1, 2, 3 years, and how we're going to get there, and how much capital it's going to require. And things are really starting to ramp up, and it's been really exciting for us. And I think we've got a lot of cool things we're going to be doing, but it's kind of where we're at. But we want to get into a Q&A type thing. I don't know how much time we have. We're good on time?
Yeah, you're good. Yes, question?
How much equity did you have to give up for that $600,000, and did you have to give up any for the initial 50?
Yeah, so when that time comes, you pretty much have two main options. I mean, besides, there's that loan option of getting money and being able to pay it back, and then that just straight equity exchange. So we decided to not do a convertible note, which is almost what's it called?
It's just kind of a loan.
Yeah, like the loan option. And so we went with the equity, and we know that when we're sitting there and a guy's offering us $50,000 and saying our business is worth over $500,000, and we're sitting there like, oh, is it? Like, we haven't made a dime. Like, you're saying we're worth $500,000? Yeah, here you go. Like, and in the moment, you're just like, yeah. Sure, you're gonna look back on that 4 years later and be like, why did we give up 10%? What? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? But in the moment, it does, and it kind of like determines, what your future plans are too. Like, the more money you raise, the more potential you have to give up, and And so you always want to raise as little as you can. And we've been in a type of business, this technology industry of, being pre-revenue and being able to kind of sustain on investors' money versus off of direct revenue. So we gave up about 10% that initial one, and then relatively about the same amount the next round. So when, as a founder, like, we have to put in perspective, is our valuation rate going up at a better rate than what our equity dilution would be? Because every time someone comes in, everyone will get diluted. So if I owned 100% and gave Mitch some, mine goes down, that type of thing. The more investors in, the more money in, the more everyone kind of dilutes. So we were able, and we realized that that aspect of, I'd rather have a small part of a watermelon than a huge part of a grape. And so in that mindset, we realized we should give up equity so we can grow at a rate we need to grow, or else we're kind of out of luck.
Right.
So you have the two options of raising money, growing quick, or not raising money and growing as fast as your revenue can drive you. And we knew we couldn't make enough money to launch at 60 schools without taking on more money.
Right. And when you're raising this money, it's at an evaluation, right? So if you guys read the news about tech companies, some of them are getting these crazy valuations, $100 million valuation, or say Yik Yak has like a $400 or $500 million valuation, but they don't make any money, and people ask, well, why? And you got to be careful with that. And that's what we're doing right now, is determining what valuation, what we're going to value our company at. Because if you value your company at $100 million, $200 million, you have to sell for more than that in order for the founders or anyone with equity at the time to make any money. So just because that amount looks good, it might not be the best for your business or for your personal wealth as well. Because if, like I said, if you raise at a $50 million, $60 million valuation, but you sell at 50 or 30, you're not going to make any of that money. I mean,
To the people that invested do.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's like liquidation preferences
Right.
of people, first money in, first money out, that type of thing. There's all these legal channels that go along with it.
So it's kind of a interesting time that we're in, this venture capital world. But Rob and I we want to build a business that's sustained not by venture money, but by revenue and profitable. So, like I was saying, these businesses are paying to put discounts in magazines and newspapers, and really we're, in a sense, we're just a platform for advertising, right? I mean, if you stay off your phone, blah, 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 blah. But really, we're just advertising these businesses. So we're monetizing through that, and all the businesses in Chico, they pay us a monthly fee of $100. And right now, what we're doing is determining, is that our best go? Is that our best route? Is $100 a month going to make us the most money? Is that the most realistic for us as well as the business? Are they going to have the best return on their $100 every month? Or there's other options like a redemption fee. So every time someone comes in with a coupon, we charge them 25 cents, 50 cents, that type of thing. So those are the type of decisions that Rob and I and some of our great mentors that we're making right now to determine how we're going to make the most money with our business. So we like to think we're unique in a sense where Yik Yak and these other companies that are getting these huge valuations, they don't have a way to monetize right now. I'm sure they have all these great plans, but we already have our monetization built in. People on our app are literally searching through ads, and that's how we're going to ultimately make a lot of money. The more people we have, the more businesses, the more ads, the more money. So, just kind of to clear that up.
Is it hard to be working with a friend?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working together the whole time, and like we definitely, it's it's all business. Like we know. Like Rob will yell at me sometimes, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I deserve more." Like if I mess up on something, I got to do better. But it is hard. Like for Rob and I, it's not hard, but it is hard. We've hired friends, and that can sometimes be weird. We had to fire someone who's one of my good friends. That can be kind of tough. So, I mean, if you're ever starting a business, you might want to steer away from hiring good friends, just because if you hire friends, you got to fire friends. But yeah.
But in terms of like the knowledge, like I said, when we went to these other schools, we knew, oh, this girl went to our high school, she's good,
Right.
and she's gonna be good over there. let's get her involved type of thing. So if you have that predetermined knowledge on a person, it can help versus like a random person coming in, starting from scratch. I know nothing about you. Are you reliable? Are you confident? Can you get stuff done? You just don't know.
Most of our full-time employees we have known in the past or we were friends with, and I think that's created a really great culture in our office, and that's really important.